Oh, thank you. Hey, great to meet you, by the way. I'm anxious attachment.
Yeah, likewise. I'm avoidant attachment.
Can I just say, I'm immediately attracted to your stoic nature. You seem so independent and confident.
Yeah, give it a few months. You'll be calling me cold and self-centered.
Guilty.
I'm actually attracted to how emotionally expressive you are. I've pretty much shut off all my feelings, so.
Well, pretty soon you'll be saying you feel completely smothered by my emotions.
Hey, looks like I have feelings after all.
Hey, can I ask you a personal question?
Hey, what's up?
What are you afraid of in relationships?
Rejection, mainly. Being seen as a failure.
You? Abandonment?
How's that manifesting itself for you?
Inability to set boundaries or advocate for my needs. I mean, heck, I don't even know if I'm allowed to have needs, right? I'm terrified to upset people, even people I don't like.
I pretty much avoid any real vulnerability or intimacy, and it kind of terrifies me thinking of getting too close, you know what I mean?
Interesting. I tend to feel like I can't get enough closeness.
I've never experienced that. We really are opposites, aren't we?
Yeah. So we probably shouldn't get together, right?
Or, hear me out, we could get into a long-term situationship where we break up occasionally, of course, but you always come back because you think you can change me, and I enjoy connecting with no commitment.
That sounds miserable. But there's just something about you. I can't put my finger on it.
It's called being emotionally unavailable. You should be used to it given your childhood.
Yes, that's it.
So let's talk about the latest social media trend that's been replacing therapy. Casually diagnosing yourself because a girl on TikTok said you zone out in a conversation and sometimes forget your water bottle. Congratulations, you're neurodivergent. Or just mildly dehydrated and annoying. See, TikTok didn't raise awareness of mental health, it trivialized it. Self-diagnosis became trendy, and people aren't getting help, they're just getting clout. And this seems to be a thing on TikTok, where you see a whole bunch of people self-diagnosing themselves and affirming their own self-diagnosed mental illnesses. Because that makes sense. So TikTok didn't give you insight, it gave you a tribe. You weren't looking for answers. You were looking for permission to stop growing and maturing as a human being. Now you're not just anxious, you're neurodivergent. You're not forgetful, you're ADHD coded. And it's all a vibe, right? Well, this isn't a diagnosis, it's identity cosplay. So here's the real problem. Once you build your entire personality around an unconfirmed diagnosis, it becomes a shield. Any criticism you receive, it's ableism. Any discomfort, that's overstimulation. And accountability, you've never heard of it. You don't want help. You want an excuse to be impossible and get sympathy for it. So now the diagnosis doesn't help you, it defines you. And when your entire self-image is built on an unverified disorder, you don't date people anymore. You date people as a performance. Your trauma isn't just your past, it's become your content. And that is where dating culture goes to die. Mental health labels have become aesthetic identities. Instead of being a tool for healing, diagnosis, real or fake, is now content. It's not about getting better, because these people don't want to get better. It's about being relatable and an excuse for taking responsibility. So it used to be that getting diagnosed meant you were fully starting your healing journey. Therapy, growth, learning not to implode your relationships. But now, a diagnosis just means you found your niche. You're not healing, you're building your brand. So once the diagnosis becomes your identity, the disorder isn't something to overcome, it's something to market, something to almost be proud of or used as an excuse. So people aren't seeking help anymore, they're just seeking the aesthetic. They want the vibe of being broken without the work of getting better. So these people aren't in recovery, they're just in character. TikTok has convinced not even an entire generation, but a whole bunch of people that vulnerability is just telling strangers your red flags in a sympathetic voice. You're not being brave. You're doing a brand collaboration with your coping mechanisms. You made your trauma into a content series, but you forgot to write your redemption arc. So now your whole personality is, I have attachment trauma, and if you point out that I'm draining you emotionally, you're the oppressor. It's always about the oppressor and the oppressed. You didn't heal, you just got better explaining why you're a mess. And when two people do this to each other, it's not a relationship, it's a trauma circle jerk. That's what it is. And that's exactly why dating now feels less like love and more like applying for a job in someone else's emotional HR department. Let me just say that dating someone who built their entire personality around diagnosing themselves on TikTok is a nightmare because they don't actually want a relationship or a partner. They want an emotional service animal dressed up like a human. Oh, with no boundaries, mind you. So they expect you to regulate your nervous system and your emotions, while they ignore your texts for mental health reasons. So they're walking around bragging about their red flags as a legitimate diagnosis, and they actually have no intention of changing or maturing at all. They don't say things like, oh, I'm sorry, I hurt you, I'll work on that. They'll say, you triggered my inner child and violated my trauma bond by expecting basic decency. That's not mental illness. That's manipulative therapy cosplay. So feedback, that's gaslighting. Boundaries, that's emotional neglect. Ghosting you, well, that was the trauma response. Calling them out, ableist. Disagreeing, toxic masculinity. Asking for consistency, you're not respecting their nervous system. You're not neurodivergent. You're just rude with better branding. So look, real neurodivergent people, they do the work. They go to therapy, they build relationship tools, they love hard, and they grow. But the TikTok diagnosis crowd, which is all over the place, they don't want partners. They want punching bags with patience. Dating one of these people is like applying for a part-time job, except the job is help me manage my trauma and never ask me for anything back. You don't get love in return, you get tasks. And if you fail, oh well, they'll make a TikTok about how you are a narcissist all along. Oh, and guess what? That video will go viral because the internet doesn't reward emotional maturity and stability. It rewards emotional chaos. Now let's talk about why. So the language of healing has been hijacked by people who don't want growth. They just want control. Words like gaslighting, boundaries, trauma dumping, and emotional labor are now emotional nukes used to win arguments, avoid accountability, and shame anyone who challenges them. Every conversation that you have with them feels like a hostage negotiation, except instead of demands, they've got buzzwords. Like you've set a boundary with them, you are looked at as coercively controlling. You've asked for accountability, well, you're being abusive. You told them how you felt? Well, congratulations, that's now a trauma dump. Apparently saying, hey, that hurt me. Well, that's now classified as emotional terrorism. Language that was meant to help people is now pretty much being used as a smokescreen. I'm trying to point out to people that people have weaponized compassion and twisted it into social power. Real growth is messy and it's vulnerable. It's not cute. It's not fun. If you want real intimacy, that means you have to be uncomfortable sometimes, not slapping the word toxic on everything that makes you feel seen. And not every argument is abuse. Not every vibe shift is a red flag. And sometimes, surprise, surprise, you're just wrong. And no trending hashtag is going to save you from that. But of course, emotional maturity doesn't trend. Emotional chaos does. As well as meltdowns, conflict, over-explaining your trauma to strangers for validation, all that stuff. But let's talk about why that content, the chaotic, codependent, misdiagnosed overshare, is what the algorithm loves the most. Therapy speak, you hear a lot of the woke people use that. That's used as a form of control and a power move, not a healing tool. Disagreeing with your partner is now abuse. Honesty somehow is now triggering, and feedback somehow means oppression. And it's not that people don't know how to love, it's that they've just learned to win emotionally instead. That's more important. And you can't build real intimacy when everyone's armed with trauma buzzwords and all this nonsense. The algorithm, especially on TikTok, it doesn't want you to heal. It just wants you constantly pumping out content. A healthy, grounded person in a stable relationship isn't going to make 5 videos a day about their ex. But someone mid-breakdown, well, that's content. So if you've seen half of the ADHD TikToks, the majority of them are very misleading. And yet they have a crap ton of views because they're not about educating. They're about emotional clickbait. They're not documenting their healing process. They are making their dysfunction entertaining. So we got 19-year-olds crying on camera about their 3-month situationship while whispering affirmations. You're not healing. You're filming your spiral in 4K with soft lighting and a hashtag healing journey caption. And that's not vulnerability. That's emotional thirst trapping. And here's the kicker. The more emotionally unstable you seem online, the more relatable you become. And the more followers you get, And if your trauma gets likes and your breakdown gets boosted, why would you ever stop? I mean, TikTok gives you validation for dysfunction, but they don't give you any tools to fix it. They might post videos giving tools to fix it, but those tools aren't actual tools. So now you've got an entire culture that doesn't want relationships, they want content. These people aren't trying to connect, they're just performative. And the more broken they appear, the more the algorithm applauds them. You're not dating, you're performing unresolved trauma for strangers and calling it intimacy. Modern dating didn't die because people have trauma. It died because they stopped dealing with it and started monetizing it. We've got people building their whole identity around TikTok slideshows, and they're calling themselves neurodivergent while refusing to actually get help and grow. And then they're wondering why no one sticks around for a second date. They'll say, it's not me, it's my avoidant attachment. No, it's actually you. You're just an emotionally unavailable adult. So if people stopped performing their pain and started confronting it, maybe they would actually get better. So here's the fix. Stop performing your pain and start confronting it. Show up as a person, not a diagnosis. Not a label, not a list of TikTok symptoms. And if that sounds scary, good, because growth usually is.
Crawling